look at the sheet, you will see that some of these already have like an answer there. That's because I'm being nice, and this way right away the thing. Okay, so number one, I don't remember if we actually talked about it in class, but it is in your reading. Why does Mongol rule collapse? Yes, the plague, the death, the bubonic plague, the Black Death, any one of those, however you want to phrase it. Okay. Although, to be honest, I'm pretty sure it's a multiple choice question, so it'll say the Black Death and then 3 wrong answers. So if you say because the Mongols got friendly, well, no, that's wrong. All right. So. Huh?
Did these align with the test?
Kinda. Okay. All right. How many people die? Okay. Now, in this case, this one is also like kind of a multiple choice. And then there's going to be another one where I talk about, Europe specifically. But anywhere from 25 to 65% of the world's population. Okay? I don't need a specific number.
Oh, I was just going to say.
But, I don't need you to write, only 20 million people were left alive. No, as long as you put down 25. And once again, I think I give you like 100%, like 5%, 20 to, I think I might have put 50%, so hey, that's between 20 and 65. Boom. Okay? Now, this one is like an open-ended question. How does it spread?
Rats and humans.
Yes. Okay, so there is a specific flea that lives on rats, and if the flea bites you, you get the plague. All right, but if you just say, specific flea on rats, or rats, not rats on fleas, fleas on rats, okay, then boom. Okay. Questions? All right, then I am going to. Now, of course, if you want to look at the slides, at the review, all of that, okay, you can go through, if you want to have, okay, like I said, and to Grace again, I don't need you to tell me, 50 million people died, or 100 million. As long as you give me between 25 and 65%, boom, okay, of the world population, okay? Now, okay, divine right, mandate of heaven, carrying the banner of Islam. When it comes to the rulers, what does it mean? Okay, divine calling. If you want to say they were chosen by the gods, they were chosen by the gods. They were chosen by God, all right, they were chosen by God. They were chosen by the universe, then they were chosen by the universe. They were chosen by the force, fine, okay? Whatever it is that you believe is the high power, authority, whatever, bless you, okay? Then that's who chose them, okay? So even though each group called it something different, it was basically divine approval or a divine calling. All right, the Michaela family was meant to rule. Okay, the Mackenzie family has been chosen by, the great spirits to be in charge. Okay, and then of course, what is a dynasty? Okay, a dynasty is where a family, okay, rules. All right, we're not just talking now about an individual. It isn't just the individual that's in charge, but it is a family. Because remember, father to son, father to son, father to son. But what happens if there's no male heir? Okay, then it can go, once again, as long as it's within the family, because the family's chosen. It's not just the person. Okay, it's the family. So it can go to a brother, it can go to a cousin, it can go to an uncle, All right, guys, more of you have to sit up here. Otherwise, the ladies are going to be the men here. All right, it can go to great grandpa. All right, if he's still alive. All right, type of thing. So it goes to it's a family that rules. It's the family that's chosen, not just an individual. All right. And I put here politically, okay, because sometimes I'll get some, especially around Valentine's Day, like now, marriage is because we love each other and we're committed and all that weird shit. No, politically, what was marriage used for?
To gain power.
Gain power. Someone else was going to say something? Uniting nations, yes. Treaties, okay. So bringing together countries, gaining more power, all right, peace treaties. Okay. You could conquer, okay, but you marry your children to other royal families and you consolidate power, and you can establish peace between between different groups.
Can monetary reasons be a choice too?
Yeah, if you want to write that down. Pool your resources, pool your money. Okay, now, this I wrote down for you. Okay, you don't really need to, add more, because the questions will cover these things. You should know a little bit about how the Ottoman Empire came to be. Okay, which the Ottomans, number one, it was the Seljuk Turks that were in charge, but then the Mongols conquer the Seljuks. Okay, the Ottomans take over after the Mongols are defeated. They get the plague, they die, people rise up against them. Okay, and then it was the Ottomans that used treaties and negotiation to bring people to the empire. Now, I did leave a blank because if that didn't work, what did they do? When negotiation and treaties don't work? War, yes, you conquer them. Okay, so they also conquered, various areas. All right, a couple of
War?
Yeah,
War?
conquest. Okay, Now, you should also. They adopted the traditions of the people that they took over. Okay, so a lot of people, once they heard, they're like, okay, yeah, I guess being under Ottoman rule won't be so bad if we can still do like everything that we did before. It's just that now we are loyal to this group instead of, whatever. Okay? You should know that the ruler of the Ottoman Empire was known as the Sultan. Okay, so leader was known as Sultan. Okay, and this one's a multiple choice. I think I put Sultan and then like 3 wrong answers, King, Pharaoh, whatever. Okay, type of, I don't know what my 3 wrong answers were. Okay, I don't ask you to remember a lot of dates. Okay, but this one is important. Okay, May 29th, 1453. What happened on May 29th, 1453? The fall of Constantinople. Constantinople is taken over, and that means the end of the Byzantine Empire. Okay? And then I just added a subset there because from that point, then the Ottomans basically are free to conquer, parts of Southern Europe, specifically the Balkans and Greece. Okay? They eventually make it all the way to Vienna. All right. And then the other thing, then after the conquest of Constantinople, because the Ottomans adopted a lot of Byzantine tradition, because they did in fact conquer and negotiate and I guess, treaty their way into a lot of places. Um, the Ottoman Empire was very diverse and very multi-ethnic. Okay, they had obviously Turks, they had Jewish people, they had Arabic people, they had Europeans, different branches of Europeans, they had North Africans, and such. Okay, and yeah, they do combine. Many of the cultural and spiritual aspects of the different places that they conquered and took over. All right. You should know who the Janissaries were. And if you don't, okay. I suppose before we get to that, I suppose if you want to talk about how, the Ottomans adopted various languages, type of thing. Turkish was the language of government, and Arabic was the language of religion. Persian was the language of art. Okay, and of course, in Europe, in their European territories, each area still kept their own language. So Bosnians spoke Bosnian, and Greeks spoke Greek, even though they were under the rule of the Sultan. All right. You should know who the Janissaries were. Okay. Basically, in order to bring Europe under tighter control, their European territories, they took young Europeans, brought them back to Turkey, converted them to Islam, taught them, Ottoman customs, taught them Ottoman culture, taught them everything, and then sent them back to their homelands to spread Ottoman culture, to rule over those areas. Okay, so Europeans taken to Turkey, taught Ottoman ways, taught Turkish, converted to Islam, and then sent back.
For diverse and multi-ethnic empire, is that under this slide? So 9 is what shows over here in the review, but I'm just asking.
For Janissaries, number 10.
Right. For nine, where it says diverse and multi-ethnic.
Yeah.
Empire, that's is that the Ottomans?
Yeah,
Oh, okay. I just got confused. Yeah.
that's okay. Now, we're going to leave the Ottomans behind. Okay. And look at Europe. Okay. Now, obviously, gotta support, gotta do a couple things here. Because of the plague, okay, changes in Europe. I put 2 things here specifically, but of course these come about because decline in population. Okay, if you want to. I suppose, Grace, if you want to write less than 20 million people were left alive, I suppose you can, but as long as you put, severe population decline, most of the population dies. And so, number 1, peasants get more rights. Peasants gain rights, number 1. Okay. Number 2, the kings ally themselves with the church. Okay. So basically, the king supports the church, and the church tries to instill in people the idea that the king is divine or divinely chosen. Okay? Now, I did leave a blank, okay, because in England, and England only, we see, number 1, the elimination of feudalism. Okay? Feudalism dies as a method of government. Okay? Other European countries take longer. Russia takes the longest. It doesn't end there till the 1860s. Okay, but feudalism ends in England, and of course peasants, in addition to their rights and whatnot, one of the biggest freedoms that they get is the freedom to move. They no longer have to consult with the lord, or the landlord, sorry, not lord, but the landlord, where they can live, what they can do. All right? And then finally, and this is also only in England, okay, we get the establishment of legislature, or if you want to write parliament. Okay. Now this is also England only. Okay. You see the formation of a legislature known as parliament. Okay. You should know what the Holy Roman Empire is. Okay. It's an alliance of German kingdoms. All right. There was no Germany, okay, but there was the Holy Roman Empire. Who ruled the Holy Roman Empire? Well, I have it right there for you, the Habsburg family, the Habsburgs. Who were the Habsburgs? They were the rulers of Austria, okay? They were very devout Catholics, super Catholics, I suppose, okay? And because of that, all right, it was always the Habsburgs who got to rule over the Holy Roman Empire. The emperor was always a Habsburg. And I know maybe I wasn't clear before, or maybe I would hope that it was in your textbook, I'm trying to remember, but the title of Holy Roman Emperor was an elected title. Okay, it wasn't like hereditary. People, like all of the German kingdoms voted, like who's going to be emperor, like, you know, whoever won the election. And it was always a Habsburg, always. Because you don't want to piss off the Pope. The reason why Latin was replaced by local languages, okay, there's no unified government, all right? Everyone's basically just doing their things on their own. If you want to write no central government, okay, no central commercial area, okay, you know, feudalism is dying, so there is like nothing to keep the people together. So if you live in Spain, you're going to start speaking Spanish. If you live in Italy, you're going to start speaking Italian. If you live in France, you're going to start speaking French, okay? Because there's nobody there, really, to provide that unified language. All right? Questions on the first page? Then let's go to the second, okay? You should know just a little bit about the 100 Years' War, okay? Basically, it was a war that, in this case, I mean, there's a lot of things that happened, but the only thing we covered and the only thing you need to know for this test, the French were trying to drive the English out of France, okay? They were trying to claim all of their lands from England, okay? Most people know this as the war of where Joan of Arc was, you know, a person type of thing.
She exists.
She existed, and she became famous because of the 100 Years' War. All right. Why the Spanish Inquisition? Okay. Where are you, Spanish Inquisition? Here we are.
There.
Okay. Basically, it was to root out fake Muslim and Jewish converts. Okay. If you want to add, Spain expelled all non-Catholics. Okay. And so a lot of people did not want to lose, you know, their lands, their property, their money, everything that they had built up in Spain. So they converted to Christianity. You don't need to use the Spanish word conversos, but you can just put but that's what they were called. Actually, only the Jewish people were called conversos. Muslims were called moriscos. But yes, it was basically to root out the fake converts, the ones that had only converted to keep their lands and their money. All right? So if you want to say just to drive out non-Catholics, that's fine too. All right? The Renaissance. Okay? Number one, you need to know what it means. I'm not going to teach you French, but you need to know what this French word means. What does Renaissance mean? Rebirth. Whoever said that. Very good. Rebirth. It's up there, but some of you have taken art history or art appreciation or whatever, and yeah. Okay. Renaissance means rebirth. Okay. What is it? What was it? Okay. Well, number one, we go back to classical learning. Okay. We break away from the church's monopoly on knowledge. Okay. We focus on science and math and reasoning, as opposed to God wants it that way. That's why it's cold today, because that's what God said. No, it's because we have this stupid Arctic front that keeps being pulled down by a high pressure system over central New York. Okay? And so, actually today it's pretty warm, and it's going to keep getting warmer because there is an offshore system that's bringing, so it might rain tomorrow because it's pulling in water from the Atlantic. Okay? Not because God said it's supposed to rain. Okay? So we're looking at secular learning, at human-centered understanding, at science, at math as explanations. Okay? Now, what brought this about? Well, the Greeks and the Romans were like great engineers and great mathematicians and philosophers. And guess what they didn't have? Christianity. Okay? They did it all without God. Okay, so give us those texts. Let us figure it out and let us try to reproduce, Roman roads and Roman aqueducts and, Greek math and the size of the earth and the fact that the earth goes around the sun and all of that stuff. Okay, now, most of us, when we think of the Renaissance, think strictly of what? Art. That was that was a significant part of it, but that was just a part. Okay? But don't forget to mention that. I know I've talked about the math and the science and the reasoning and all of that. But yes, it also involved art. Okay? But of course, we're now painting, religious themes, but we are also painting Greek and Roman themes, okay? We are also painting the natural world, all right? Oh, yeah, and the religious paintings, hey, I'm going to paint God topless or naked or whatever, like buff and ripped. What, you've never seen the Sistine Chapel? He's like jacked. All right. I suppose if we're going to worship a God, we're going to worship a buff one, right? Yeah, big muscles. All right. Yeah, buff God. All right, type of thing. No. Do I need to bring in pictures of the Sistine Chapel? I mean, he's jacked. All right. You've seen it? Okay. Type of thing. All right. So yeah.
History too.
That's right. Okay. All right. So, moving along. Okay. What effect does the printing press have? I suppose, going back to the Renaissance, okay? I suppose also one of the reasons why, everything spread is because people were motivated by money, okay? In this case, hey, you're paying me to paint a picture? Fine. How much are you going to pay me? Okay. You want me to calculate or whatever? Okay, fine. My brain's for rent. All right. I'll move and do stuff like that. One example, Michelangelo. I mean, he didn't just paint for the Pope. He didn't just do the Sistine Chapel. All right. He worked for anyone. He worked for the highest bidder. okay, type of thing. And so, that's how it spread quickly too. Okay, and yeah, religious thought was challenged. I know I already mentioned it, but yeah, it wasn't just God, but it was other religious figures. Okay, I think Veronica mentioned David. Yeah, good old David. He's naked. All right, from David and Goliath. Yeah, all right. Did you know that there's a fake David outside that you can take pictures with and do all of that? And then the real David is inside the Duomo. You can't even get close to it. They got security right there. All right, and so the fake one looks just like the real one, except when you see someone next to it, you're like, oh yeah, you're with the fake one. It's like, well, yeah, type of thing. But you can see the real one. You can go up and all of that, and then you can go outside and take a picture with the fake one if you really want a picture.
Reminds me of the Alamo. My husband was so excited, thought he touched the actual Alamo. Till we went in for the museum tour, and they said, no, this is actually the Alamo.
The other part is
plexiglass.
just like the modern part. It's just
no touchy. It's plexiglass.
Yeah, you can't touch the actual leftover building.
Yeah.
Okay, so what effects does the printing press have? Okay, remember, okay, you should know that, number one, okay, because I will ask you, it was invented by the Chinese, okay, the printing press, okay, but what does Johann Gutenberg do to improve it? Movable type, okay. You can now, do the letters, and then once you print that, you can remove them and put the letters for the next page, and then remove that and put the letters for the next page. Because the Chinese printing press was made of wood, all right? So once you carved it, that was it. That was the only thing you were printing, okay? Number one, okay? So, movable type, okay? We have cheap paper, okay? Because now it's not expensive, it's not hard to make. You just take old rags and douse them and mix them with pulp, and now you have plenty of paper, okay? And so what does that do to knowledge? What does that do to information?
Increases it.
Yes, it's spread everywhere, okay? Now that you can write all this down, now that you can print it and make literally hundreds and hundreds of copies of it, then yeah, everyone gets a bit of knowledge, okay? It doesn't have to come from a book. It doesn't have to come word of mouth. Here, you can look at it yourself and you can have yours, okay? Type of thing, all right? Now, not everyone can read though, okay? So, we got to teach y'all to read. And so we see a general increase in literacy across Europe during this time, okay? Because what good is it to have access to a lot of printed material if you can't read it, right? And so in this case, not only does the news spread fast, but what's important to this part, knowledge, and of course the ideas, all right, to start revolutions, to start social change, to start all of that. Okay. Questions? Okay. Now, Europe was in constant turmoil during this time. Okay. Most of the kingdoms were small, but you should know the two exceptions: Spain and Portugal. Those were the two stable ones during the 1400s. All right. Then, moving to China, okay, the Mings did away with paper money, okay, and we see that they eventually allow Europeans to enter, okay, but, and I think I may have missed it here somewhere, what is the only currency they allowed, and why did they allow the Europeans to arrive?
Silver.
Silver.
And they
Okay.
had lots of it.
Yes. You know what? I think that might be in the next chapter.
I think it is.
Okay. Ah, yes. Maybe. Ah, yes. It is. Sorry. Oops. Well, something went wrong.
Oh.
Give me 2
Who
minutes
did that?
here. I hate this. Okay. Where are you? Where are you? No, I need settings. Here we go. YouTube, not YouTube, system, display, there we go. Duplicate. Is that the one? Yes, it is. Keep. All right, so, yes, silver. Okay. They only allowed silver as currency, and the reason why they allowed Europeans is because Europeans had lots and lots of silver. In fact, they would trade with anyone as long as they had silver. Okay? Why are Europeans looking for this ocean route to China? Okay? Well,
The Ottomans.
yes, the Ottomans. Okay? After May 29th, 1453, who controlled all the routes? The Ottomans. Okay? And remember, when you have a monopoly, okay, what can you do to prices? You can jack them up. You can raise them as high as you want. Okay? And the Ottomans controlled, bless you, every access to the land routes to go to China. They also controlled most of the ports for the ocean routes to China. Okay? And of course, the fact that the Ottomans in the 1500s are still pretty powerful in conquering different places. All right? So we have to find another way, okay, around. Okay? Now, we actually start with the Portuguese. Okay? The Portuguese are the first, you should know. Portuguese are the first to go around Africa. Okay, so I wrote that down for you. But why didn't the Portuguese conquer Africa? Why didn't they conquer, once they got to India? Why didn't they conquer India? What was the only thing they were after?
Gold resources.
Yeah, money, resources. They just wanted to get rich.
And there was
Okay. Didn't want to conquer. Only I only put $6 signs, but you can put those out till infinity. All right, that's all the Portuguese really wanted. All right, was money. They didn't care about anything else. Okay. Who were the first Europeans to get to the Americas? The Vikings. Yes, the Vikings. Okay. You should know Vikings. Too bad we don't have a Viking Day. That could be fun.
Oh, that would be so much fun.
All right. Columbus's error.
miscalculated.
Yes. Miscalculated the size of the earth. Okay. Now, most people knew the world was round. They just didn't agree on how big it actually was. Okay. So it wasn't like Columbus was fighting, ignorance. He actually was really bad at math. And so he was trying to convince people that his numbers were better. Okay. If you want to add that, nobody knew that there was a whole continent between Europe and Asia, okay, I suppose that was also true. Okay, nobody knew that America was there. Okay, but basically his biggest error was the size of the earth. Okay. First contact between Europeans and Native Americans. Who came out on top? Europeans. What did Europeans bring? That disease. Yeah, most natives succumbed to disease. And those that did survive, what did the Europeans do? Enslaved them, yeah, took them as slaves, okay, forced them to work. So yeah, Europeans arrived quickly and overwhelmed the locals. Not only do they have superior weapons, but diseases, okay, that natives have no defense for.
So looking for those three answers specifically.
Yeah. I mean, that's basically how it went. Okay. I don't ask you to learn a lot of Spanish. Okay. Conquistadors. Conquerors. Okay. Conquerors. Oh, there it is. Okay. Encomienda. Land grant. Okay. I can tell you right now, those two are multiple choice. One of them will say land grant and then 3 wrong answers. Okay, I'll have to come up with some Bad Bunny lyrics or something. And then same thing with conquistadors. One of them will say conqueror and then 3 wrong answers. Okay. Some basics as to the Spanish conquest of the Aztecs. Okay, so in this case, now these are going to be short answer. So, why were the Spanish able to overwhelm the Aztecs? Well, once again, disease, superior weaponry. They were strange, they were different, okay? They had, these dogs and horses, things that the Aztecs had never seen before. He might have been the return of one of their gods that was prophesied, centuries ago, type of thing, okay? Cortez forms alliances with the Aztecs' enemies. Okay. I mean, the Aztecs weren't, friendly with everyone. Okay. Like I said, superior weapons. Okay, the Spanish had guns and swords. The Aztecs did not. Okay. Smallpox, including the fact that the Spanish catapulted infected putties into the city. All right, so germ warfare. Cortez is forced to retreat, but when he comes back, he brings artillery, okay, which the Aztecs don't have. Cannon, causing major damage. All right. 2 or 3 of those things. You don't need to list everything. All right, so give me 2 or 3 examples as to why Cortez was able to defeat the Spanish. I'm sorry, Cortez was able to defeat the Aztecs. The next one is, how did Pizarro overwhelm the Inca? Okay, remember that, okay, he arrived right when there was social instability in the empire. Okay, government control was weak. People were questioning the leadership of the emperor. The leadership was losing touch with the people, and the Spanish show up. All right, so they took advantage of that. Okay, in this case, with the Inca, Pizarro wasted no time. Okay, he basically tricks the emperor. He sets a trap for him. Okay, he captures him, demands a ransom, and cuts his head off anyways after he gets the money. Okay. The biggest one, though, social instability. And the Spanish take advantage of that. But basically, Pizarro, sets a trap for the emperor and just goes all out, on the Inca population. Remember that the reason why we ignore the Vikings is because they didn't stay and their impact wasn't, as significant as later on in history. And so, number one, you should know what the Columbian Exchange is, okay? Basically, the merging of two biomes, okay? If you want to say the exchange of plants, animals, people, disease from one part of the world to the other, And give me 2 or 3 examples from each side, okay? So from Europe, the Americas got, grapes and beef and pork and horses and smallpox and influenza, okay? Europe got corn and potatoes and tomatoes and beans and squash and, stuff like that, okay? Tobacco, chocolate. Oh, can't forget chocolate. Speaking of which, where's my Hershey's? Never mind. All right. I only need 2 or 3, okay, from so yeah, Michaela.
Who had grapes and beef?
Europe had grapes and beef, and it came to America.
Okay, and then how about the corn and potatoes?
America had corn and potatoes, and that went to Europe.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, it also went to Asia. At least the corn did. Later on, we'll study a time when China actually underwent a famine, and corn from America, saved. And of course, for you who claim to be Irish, where would your ancestors be without the Irish potato famine? Okay, because potatoes came from Peru. All right. Okay. Where do Spanish and Portuguese get labor from? Once they've killed off the natives. Africa, yes. This is where we see the importation of slaves, okay, from Africa. What product drove up that demand? I wrote it down for you, sugar, okay? Because sugar requires a lot of labor, number one. But number two, sugar was very, very valuable. And in fact, it produces more wealth than gold or silver ever did, okay? Why was sugar so valuable? Why were the Europeans crazy about it?
Oh,
Go ahead.
well, it was in high demand.
Why though?
Good.
Sugar is good. Okay, I need a little bit more than that. No offense, Euro-Americans, but what was the European diet like in the Middle Ages? Bland, gross, disgusting. Okay, what does sugar do? Yes, sugar makes it taste better. All right, sugar made it yummy. Okay, the one example I always like to use is plain oatmeal. You ever try to eat plain oatmeal? That shit's nasty. Pardon my Spanish. All right, it really, really is. But you add a ton of sugar and maybe some butter, a little bit of cinnamon, and it's yummy after that. Okay, I was gonna say lately I've been drinking my coffee black, but I've seen some of you adding all kinds of sugar and vanilla and give me 20 pumps of you're laughing, you're like, yeah, that's me, and it's like, you're not drinking coffee, you're drinking whipped cream and sugar, but yeah, it's the sugar that you want, and so it doesn't hurt that sugar is in fact addictive, and studies have shown that it stimulates the same pleasure centers in your brain as cocaine. All right, so Janae's like, what? I'm like, yeah, not as intense as cocaine, but it's the same area. Okay, so you're getting that little dopamine hit. Suddenly, Europeans want sugar. They want a lot of it. But Sugar only grows in hot, humid, tropical land. We've killed off all the natives, so who are we going to get to work here? Okay, slaves. All right, so we want more money, we invest in more slaves, we bring more slaves, we grow more sugar. Now people want even more, so we got to bring more slaves, we got to get more land, and the cycle just keeps going and going. Okay? Now, I think I will ask, no, maybe I didn't. Maybe I took that question out. Never mind. Finally, you should know, or, remember that between 90 and 95% of all Africans that were taken throughout the history of slavery actually ended up in South America and the Caribbean. All right. People talk about, like the plantations and cotton in the South and all of the Confederacy. That was that much compared to all of the slaves that ended up in South America. Okay. Finally, you should be familiar with the bits of the Atlantic system. Okay. The products, and I put it in quotes because out of Africa came what? Slaves. They went here. If you want to be specific, you can, but all I really need you to understand is from the Americas, we get raw materials, okay? Whether it's cotton, whether it's sugar, whether it's tobacco, depending on the era, okay? So raw material. From Europe, we get manufactured goods, okay? Now, of course, those go to different places, all right, manufactured goods, but which manufactured good did people trade slaves for specifically? Starts with a G. Guns, yes, okay. African tribes wanted guns in exchange for people. So, slaves to America, raw materials to Europe, manufactured goods to Africa, specifically guns. Okay. Finally, okay, the Reformation. You should know that Martin Luther was a monk. Okay. What did he object to? Okay. Corruption in the church. Okay. You could also say the church's wealth, but basically it was corruption. Where do we get the word Protestant from?
Protest?
Yeah, to protest. Okay. Protestant faiths are a protest against Catholicism. Okay. You should be familiar with Luther's philosophy, and I wrote it down for you. Okay, so because I knew I'd be getting short on time. All right, faith alone will save you. You don't need sacraments. You don't need the whole baptism, confirmation, this, that, all of that other weird stuff. Okay, only the Bible holds the truth. All right, anything else, if it's not in the Bible, all right, eat all the meat you want on Fridays during Lent. All right, type of thing. Have yourself a bacon cheeseburger. And then, of course, you really don't need a priest. You should have a one-on-one relationship with God, all right? You don't need an intermediary, okay? That was his philosophy, okay? 35, you should know that Luther was responsible for translating the Bible into German, okay? 36, the number one principle of Calvinism, okay, is predestination. You're already chosen to go to heaven, and you're already condemned to hell. All right? You have no choice in that. It's already happening. Okay? I left you some space there because the other thing about Calvinism, simplicity and basics. Okay? You don't need a big gold cross. A wooden one is fine. You don't need to sit in those big, comfy, cushioned chairs. Nice wooden bench will do. Okay? Your priests, ministers, whatever, preachers don't need to wear the big hats and the funny dresses. Just a simple outfit. Okay? Unlike the other Protestant movements, you should know how the Church of England starts? Henry VIII. He wanted a divorce, and did the Catholic Church give it to him?
No.
No. So he just started his own. Okay? The Counter-Reformation, you should know that at the Council of Trent, they didn't really change, they just reaffirmed, okay, the church's teachings, like this is what we teach and this is what we're sticking to. Okay, yeah, let's stop with the selling of indulgences and let's stop the corruption, but we're going to keep doing what we do. We also see the formation of a group known as the Jesuits. So you should know that they were formed during the Council of Trent. And we are bringing back the Inquisition, except now, and that's why I left you a little space there, we're not trying to get rid of Jews and Muslims. What are we trying to do now? Okay, well, we're trying to punish the people that are leaving the church. We are banning books and burning books, and we are, eliminating knowledge. We're getting rid of witches and any other, people that might be troublemakers. Okay. I am going to ask you one thing about Spain in this case. You should know that all of the wealth that they had, they used it to help the Catholic Church and other Catholic countries to fight in these religious wars, okay? And that basically is the beginning of the end of Spain and the beginning of British and Dutch power, okay? The only things I'm going to ask you about the Mughal Empire is, number one, they were Indian, but the rulers were Muslim. So it was basically a Muslim-ruled Indian kingdom. And yes, they traded with the Europeans. And then the only thing I'm going to ask you about, at the end here about China is that their population grew immensely. It was already 1/3 of the Earth's population by this time. All right. I apologize, we're like a minute over time. But when you come in on Wednesday, I will have the test for you. The only other thing, there is a study guide on Brightspace, and so if you need it, it's right there. I'm also going to upload the video to there, so you can rewatch